If you are a real estate agent and you are tired of cold calling, door knocking, paying for ads that flat out don't work, or just tired of not knowing how to generate leads, then this is the channel for you. We are four rockstar agents who have come together to help fellow agents achieve financial freedom as well as location and time freedom. My name is Andy Hollis, along with my partners Aileen Fountain, David Doran, and Tim Hollenden. Together, we have over 50 plus years experience and knowledge in the real estate and sales and training industry, and we are hoping to pass that knowledge on to you. So let's get started.
Today is about your game plan, not my game plan, but your game plan to dominate in 2025. We still got time left. We got about 6 weeks-ish, give or take, left, 5 weeks left in the year. So the question becomes, what are you going to do during your 5 weeks? And before we get started, we'll have a little bit of fun here in a minute, but let me give you a quick story. As we say in business, we say facts tell and stories sell. So let's go back to a little story time. And Brianna, being a teacher, she knows we are edutainers, right? You have to entertain your students in order to get the point across. So back in 2020, we all had an interesting 2020, right? A lot of us had an interesting 2020, but I had a more interesting 2020 than I think a lot of people. And I had some I'll call it opportunities. I had some opportunities in 2020. I had been married for 25 years. She decided to leave in 2020. And Lila just handed me the kids. Hey, you take the kids, I'm out, period. So I've been a full-time dad. Yeah, they live with me full-time, hardly ever see their mom. Then my dad died of COVID at the same time. Then the music store, I had to fire the manager at the music store. I had never had to fire anybody before. Never been a retail store owner before. That was interesting. And the person who was the manager at the music store, it was a family friend. And I had done 27 years of Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter. My kids called his parents grandma and grandpa. I've never spoken to them again. They pretty much just disowned us after we fired their son. Then I had to sell the married house, buy another house. I had a car accident. I had a rental property that had an insurance claim on it. And all of this happened in 4 months. And I still sold 62 houses that year. And I didn't have to make any, do you think I ever picked up the phone to prospect? Of course not. I mean, I had all that stuff going on. And so I had to inspect what I expected. And despite everything else that was going on, I had to step up. So I could either fold up or step up. So I decided to step up. So I don't know what you've gone through. I don't know what you've been through. We all have, I would say, baggage. But I would encourage you today. A good friend of mine, Jefferson Santos, he said, you want to carry luggage, not baggage. And so today we want to carry luggage. And before we want to get luggage is encouraging, right? We want to go. And let's think about what's actually happened in 2024, because it's not bad news. In fact, in Georgia, listings were up 39% year over year. Okay, we talk about no inventory. Well, guess what? Listings are up 39%. Also, that also means, though, across the state, we're at 54 days on the market. What happened to the 3 days on the market or 4 days on the market that we had in 21 and 22, or even parts of 23? All right, so let's look at these stats real quick to help give you guys some ammunition as you move forward. Existing home sales grew month over month in October by 3.4%. So October was better than September nationally. These are national stats because this is a national call. Pending sales increased month over month in September by 7.4%. And across the US, 409% average price with a 6.22% interest rate. Guys, 6.22% is the lowest the interest rates has been since 2022. And we know the market was like super hot in 2022, right? I had a great year. So I don't look at this as being bad news. I look at this as being great news. That means people are actually out there buying. Existing home sales grew by 3.4%. That's a good thing. That means we're in an accelerating market. We're in a market that is going up as opposed to going down. Now, that's not what you're going to hear on the news. All right, so be careful what you're listening to. Be very careful what you consume because you want to make sure you go to where the real stats are at. I think you can trust, a National Association of Realtors, or you can trust Real Trends, or you can trust some of these other people as opposed to listening what the mainstream media is saying. So markets are going up. I'm actually having a really busy. I have another, I don't know, 5 closings before the end of the year. This is December, y'all. We're not supposed to do well. I do well in December every year. Like October, November, December, I typically almost will do better than I do during the summer sometimes. So there's a lot that you can do. Now, what can you still do? How are we going to end this year strong? I'm going to give you some tools here in just a minute. But I'm going to give you one nugget that's not on my slideshow. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about investors. There are investors right now that would love to figure out ways to invest their money for tax benefits before the end of the year. Now, what is one thing you can do? Well, you can maybe help them flip a house. You could look at wholesalers or look on the MLS for good values. You could do that. I would say I'm not adverse to hard work, but it is a lot of work to find the right one and do all the numbers and roll the numbers. Or this is what I'm doing and how I'm approaching my investors. And I just had a closing yesterday. And let's check about this closing. Now, this is a little bit south of Atlanta, which the prices are a little bit less south of the city than north of the city. We bought a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house built in 2021. Check this out, y'all. $294,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house. And what we're going to be doing, his payment is going to be $1,950 a month. He put his 20% down. His payment's going to be $1,950 a month. Now what we're doing is we're going to turn it into government housing. And the government will pay $3,003 a month for this and rent, guaranteed, direct deposited into your account. Now, if you're questioning what that cap rate is or what your cash on cash return rate looks like in that scenario, that's a 15.5% cash on cash return. Sean, would you like to buy a house like that? Is that a good enough rate of return for you? 15.5% cash on cash.
I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not sure how to figure out the cash on cash return, basically what you do, here's what his down payment was. So in his case, $68,000 down, and he's going to make about $1,100 a month in profit after taxes, insurance, and escrows. That's after everything's paid for. Then you take the 1,100 times 12, whatever that number ends up being. It's about 13,000, a little under 13,000, and or maybe a little over. And then you divide that by his $68,000 down payment, and that'll give you your cash on cash return. And then he's going to have a tenant in there that's going to be paying down the mortgage, and the property will be appreciating, appreciating. It will be an appreciating asset while somebody else is paying down. Now, how do you get that information? Go to your Department of Community Affairs in your local city and get it. They should have a PDF of what the government will pay out for housing in your area. I have a PDF with all the zip codes in the metro area, and so I can advise my investors how to do that. So that's a great thing you could do between now and the end of the year to help your investors make a good investment and get you another sale. Okay, so that was for free, and that wasn't on the slideshow. But now let's go into the slideshow. What do we do each day? So going into 2025, okay, it's all about how we're setting ourselves up on a day-to-day basis. What you do now will show up 90 days from now. Good, bad, or other. It's not good or bad. It's just is. All right. So number one, we want to eat our frogs first in the morning. If you don't like to exercise or or do something spiritual, whatever it is that you do, spiritual for me, it's God and Bible, but for you, it may be something different. And reading, do these things at first thing in the morning. I typically will wake up. I thank God for giving me another day. Then I'll do a Bible study. I'll pray. Then at that point, I may talk to my girlfriend for a little bit, which gets me some of that personal time that I need, gives me that personal connection with her. And then I may read something. I'll definitely I go to the gym anywhere from, 2 to 6 days a week, depending on the week, depending on what's going on. So Those are the things I do. I was at the gym at 7:30 yesterday. And let me tell you, here's another free thing. Guys, people who go to the gym are successful. People who go to the gym typically have money. There's a guy who has a Ferrari that goes to my gym. I know him. And so I will tell you, I went to a class at the gym a few months ago in May. I wore an EXP shirt, and then the lady turns around and says, "Hey, I'm looking to buy, you do real estate?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm looking to buy a house. We just closed on her house a month ago. I made $13,000 for showing up at a HIT class in the gym." Another time I was working on the free rates about 6 weeks ago. The guy next to me, I just said, "Hey, how you doing?" Always say hi, even if they have earplugs on. Just say hi. If they look friendly, say something. Guess what? He's now one of our agents for EXP. I'm just saying, going to the gym, you're taking care of you. You're doing something good for you, but also it's a great place to meet people who are successful and have and can maybe help you with your business. I'm not saying you're going to get a closing or attract an agent every time you go to the gym, but at least you're giving yourself the opportunity and you're doing something good for your body. So it's a win-win all the way around. So step 2. So the question I want to ask you is, what do I need to do each day to have the life that I always dreamed of? I'll let you ponder that for a second. What work do I do? I would encourage you, don't chase shining objects. In real estate, that's really difficult. You get hit up. I get phone calls, emails, texts about this system, that system. Now we're ready to work, but what are we going to work on? So going back to what I talked about, visualization, what is that life that you always dreamed of? I don't have the answer to that for you. That's your personal journey. But if you have a certain lifestyle or certain thing that you dream of, how are you going to get there? The beautiful thing about real estate is there's so many ways that you can get there. You can sell houses. You can work with investors. You can bring on agents. There's just so many different avenues that you can go to get to a certain spot. But what avenue are you going to choose? For the course of this, we're talking about selling houses, because that could be the easiest way to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. So what is it that we're going to work on? So I want you to think everything we do from this slide out. I want you to think about your dream. Then everything else I say, I want you to keep the dream in the forefront. Keep the dream in the forefront of your mind as we go through the remaining slides. And I want to just show you something. Like for me, I have a vision board on my phone. I keep my vision on my phone because every time I pick up the phone, I know what I'm looking at. And that was a goal period where I wanted to make $40,000 in 8 weeks, which I actually made about $68,000 in 4 weeks during that time period. But I set the intention that that's what I wanted to make. I set that intention up and I exceeded my intention. The other thing you saw in the middle of the screen was agents and who I want to reach out to and how many people. What am I looking to do? Right. So that's going to look different for you. That look different for Brianna, it'll look different for Kathy, it'll look different for Sean, it'll look different for Tim, it'll look different for everybody. So now we're getting ready to work. But what are we going to work on? So step number 3. In order to prospect, you must have a list. List comes in different forms. So I remember going to trainings and they said make a list. Let me tell you guys, I don't like making lists. I don't like anything where I really have to write anything down, just to be honest with you. Just being truthful. I don't like doing lists and things like that. So what if you're me and you don't like writing a list? What are you going to do? Well, I'll call it tribes. We'll just call it tribes. You have different tribes that you're part of. It could be a church. In Brianna's case, it's her school. It could be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. For me, I have a little fun car that I can go to car shows. That's a tribe. I have Lamborghini and Ferrari owners that I met at car shows for bringing my car. You don't think I follow up with those people? Those are good people to follow up with, right? If they're driving a Lamborghini, those are people you want to stay in touch with, right? And create friendships and relationships with, because you never know where they're going to go. The gym is a tribe. If you're at the gym, you all have something in common. You all everybody likes to work out. Everybody likes to do that. So think about who it is that you are around, and that becomes your tribe. It could be your neighborhood. Your neighborhood could become a tribe. I just got a listing in my neighborhood. I've sold houses. I've sold a couple houses to people that were renting in my neighborhood. I actually have an investor that literally directly across the street that reached out to me, and I helped them buy an investment house. So think about who those people are. Did I have to write anything down with anything I just said? Not really. You didn't. You could probably just, I'm going to call so-and-so. And then here's the key. Here's what I do is I would keep a spreadsheet. I used to keep a written list. And for me, I will probably never, ever go back and look at those written lists of people I talked to in a notebook. I used to have a notebook. I have notebooks going back 10 years of people I've talked to and prospecting sheets and notes and conversations. And, what I started doing is started doing it all in an Excel sheet. And just while I have the conversation, I can go quickly, go back, and then I'll color code. If it's a hotter lead, I'll put a green by it. If I didn't reach someone to follow up, I'll put a yellow, which means I still need to go back and follow up with them. If it's something dead, it's being red. Sometimes it's just calling past clients. Okay. The other thing is call people on your list or in your tribe a minimum of 10 a day. Now, this doesn't have to be complicated. Okay. I don't know. Say there's a brand new agent on here and you've not done any business, like you've never even sold a house. Well, what do you say? Hi, Sue. This is Jamie. I got some big news. I'm part of one of the most successful real estate teams in all of Atlanta. And guess what? We are accepting new clients. Do you know anyone who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the next 90 days? Brianna, was that hard? That wasn't hard. You could even send that in a text. You could send that in a Facebook Messenger. People typically respond on Facebook Messenger, by the way, y'all. And especially if you've interacted with anything that they've posted. You don't even have to make that, say you're scared of the phone. Send a text. I promise you, typically people will respond to your text. Most people do respond to those text messages, statistically speaking. So there's step 3. Let's go to step 4. Social media. And just I want to give a shout out to Icon Coaching, because I got a lot of this from Sean Kokoska with Icon Coaching, because I did this in 2020, and I'll tell you more about it, what happened. So 20 interactions a day on social media. Then you want to comment on 10 people's posts each day. Make 10 comments. Send 6 private messages. Do a share. Add 2 more people to your network, friend or follow, and make at least 1 post every day. What I've done recently is I'm very consistent on Facebook. That's my favorite platform. Very consistent on there. Most of what goes on Facebook ends up automatically being posted on Instagram too. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. Then I also want to do 3 posts on LinkedIn every week. And then also want to post 2 TikTok. And there's another platform, and I can send you, look this up. It's called Clapper, CLAPPER, which looks exactly like TikTok, but it has a much different algorithm. It's much more organic. Where TikTok has paid stuff, Clapper does not. You can actually gain a lot of followers. It's interesting to see between the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Clapper, TikTok, when you post the same in LinkedIn, when you post the same video on all 5 platforms, what happens and how many more views you get on one or the other. For me, Instagram gets the least amount of views on the reel. For me, and I don't even have tons of TikTok followers. I only have like 150 or 200, but I get most of my videos get 650 to 1,000 views for the most, usually. But even that few followers. Imagine what would happen if you had more followers. So that's what you want to do each day. That's what you want to do with social media. Don't let social media intimidate you. All of this, if you were to do all of this, maybe takes 30 minutes. And don't overthink. Sometimes you overthink you're going to leave a comment for. I mean, I've done that. I remember when I was really trying to leave 10 comments. You say, 10 comments, that's pretty easy. And I was like, oh my gosh. Then you started looking, why do I want to leave a comment? Just leave comments. And it doesn't have to be on Facebook. It could be on Instagram. It could be on TikTok. It could be whatever platform that you like. I will say though, when you leave a comment for somebody on Facebook, they typically do interact with you. That is not necessarily the case in my experience with the other platforms. So if you're trying to get that interaction with somebody, Facebook is probably the best one to actually get interaction with versus the other platforms. I don't think I've ever responded or had very little interaction on TikTok with. I had one video that got 24,000 views. I didn't have any. I responded to all the comments, but nobody responded back once you responded to. I had probably 100 comments on that video. I don't know why it got 24,000 views. I still have to, sometimes we don't know why one gets 5,000 views and why one gets 50 views. We have no idea. But that's social media. Social media is for y'all. Doesn't cost anything. So go ahead and use it to your advantage. I just sold a house for $810,000 or $820,000, and they had been looking at me. She had been basically following me for 10 or 12 years on Facebook. And originally was part of a company that Kathy and Sean and I were part of, was originally part of my group there like a long time ago. Didn't really ever talk to her. She's like, I like what you're doing on Facebook, and ended up buying an $820,000 house just by my posts. I had somebody else that I've been sending houses to for 10 years, 10 plus years, that a couple of years ago finally bought a house. Does it cost you any money to keep sending them houses on the MLS? No, it's free. Just keep it up. Just make sure you stay in touch with people. All right, so that's step 4. Let's go to step 5. Consistency. So what is an icon? You heard Kathy mention icon. So an icon is a person or thing regarded as a representative symbol. So the question is, whether you're with EXP or with another company, it doesn't matter. Do you want to be an icon for your community? Do you want to be an icon for your family? Do you want to be an icon in your business, in your neighborhood, in whatever it is? Do you want to be an icon? Do you want to be regarded as a representative symbol? If you're a real estate agent, the answer to that should be yes, because you want to be, when people think about real estate, you want them to think of Jamie or Kathy or Sean or Brianna or Tim. You want them to think of you. You don't want them to think of anybody else. You want to be the person that they think about. So how do you do that? We talked about consistency. What is 10 or 20 daily? I said a minimum of 10 contacts daily and 20 social media interactions daily. If you really want to be crazy, you could do 20 contacts daily. That's 100 contacts a week. Sometimes it takes 4 hours to do that, or 3 hours, or 2 hours, and sometimes it gets done in 30 minutes. It just depends. Contacts, and you don't have to necessarily talk to them. Talking to them is always best. You can text them. As long as you have some kind of interaction with them. A contact, it does not count unless you've had an interaction. Just because you send a text, and if they don't respond to you, then nothing happened. That does not count. Do not cheat yourself. Contacts can also look a different way. What if one day you just went out? I know somebody who built their business literally handing out 25 business cards a day. Every day they talked to 25 people. They may not have gotten names and phone numbers, but they handed out 25 business cards every single day, everywhere they went. You could do that. You could go to Sam's Club and do that in an hour. Why not? Just walk up to somebody, compliment them. Hey, I really like your shirt. You live in the area? Well, I'd love your shoes. No? Especially if they have a nice pair like Air Jordans on or something like that. People love to talk about that stuff because they spend a lot of money on that stuff. Let's talk about past clients. If you have past clients, don't be afraid to follow up with them. Like I have an opportunity. I was on HGTV on House Hunters a couple times, two episodes last year, and the producers reached back out to me, and they were looking to do more filming in Atlanta. And so what did I do? I started talking to my past clients. Hey, who do you know who would love to be on House Hunters or on HGTV? And guess what? I got a closing out of it. We didn't end up going on the show because of their work schedules, but hey, I would have never had that client. And that was a $12,000, $11,000 commission, something like that. All I did was pick up the phone. And the funny thing is, that particular client, I almost didn't even call them. I said, oh, they won't know anybody, because they weren't one of my higher priced clients. And of course, they sent me over to somebody. So you just never know. You don't know who's going to refer you to coworkers. If you're still working, or if you worked, you may have worked previously somewhere before you started doing real estate. Those are good people to talk to because you already have some kind of commonality with them. And of course, business owners, if they're a business owner, they know other business owners, or they may know other people with money or whatever. And so those are all good people to talk to. And we could keep going. We could keep talking about this, and we could brainstorm, and I could take everybody off, and we could leave comments and stuff of who you should talk to. But I think you're getting the idea of who you should be talking to. And also, don't discount. You heard me kind of do a little bit of a discount where I said I almost didn't call those people because they weren't one of my higher price clients. Well, guess what? I have a client that way back in 11 or 12, I sold a $100,000 house, and they kept on buying houses, these cheap houses. Back in the day, they did end up referring me to a few other people. They referred me to one of their cousins who's now buying. We still have some houses in Atlanta you can still get for, in this case, it's a condo they're buying for $130,000. But they referred me. It turns out that both of this one who's buying the condo for cash for $130K, both of her kids are doctors or medical doctors. And guess what? I've got a house under contract for one of her sons that's going to close next week, a much higher priced house. Not $1 million house or anything, but still a nicely priced house. So you don't know who knows somebody who's going to keep referring you out to other people. Okay, so always ask for those referrals and ask, especially if you have a relationship with them, or you have fun with them, whatever. People like to help other people, because it makes them feel good to give. When you give, you get. All right. So we're going to hit onto one of our last slides. I'm definitely going to leave some open time for discussion, for questions, or anything like that. The exact system starting in March of 2020 led to 15. How could you do this if you did this every single month? Again, doing that same system that I just talked to you guys about, because I knew when COVID started in 2020, I'm a single dad. I don't have any other income coming in. I don't have an ex that's helping out or anything. So I figured, what am I going to do differently? What am I going to do to make sure that, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And so by implementing, by doing a coaching class, a group coaching class, I was able to accomplish those results, exactly what I just shared with you. And that's very similar to what we had done at Keller Williams, which we had a class at Keller Williams called Bold. Very, very similar, which cost a whole bunch to take, but very, very similar as to what we were expected to do each week in order to get the results. And usually during the 6 weeks of Bold, you would close 14 to 15 transactions. In this case, I closed 15 homes in 2 months.